1 year ago, my wife looked great but had no interest in exercise or her diet. She stayed in shape because of youth, luck, and genetics. So when I said try working out with me, she said, I just don't need to. So I told her, youth doesn't last forever, luck can run out, and have you seen your mother? So 12 months ago, for the first time ever, Jenna began to work out on a regular basis, eat right, and set a whole bunch of goals that led to last weekend when she entered High Rocks London, a multidiscipline fitness event with over 7,000 competitors. But from the minute she began this journey, I spotted her weakness, the issue that would hold her back and mean that she'd never achieve the sort of life-changing transformation that I did with exercise. She just didn't take it as seriously as me. She did not put everything she had into it. She would quit too soon, and ultimately that would mean that she might do the 12 months, but never fulfill her potential and probably not keep training that way long term. And I was right. And also, I could not have been more wrong. So back to the start. When Jen began this, she was 33 years old, no history of sports. She had a gym membership, but she also had a library membership, and both got about as much use as each other. She would run about twice a year when she would accompany me and Nixon on one of our races, and walk about 95% of the course, driving me and Nixon nuts. And her diet consisted of a steady stream of Pringles and Doritos. The only thing in her favour was that she did not overeat, so maintained a relatively low body weight. And the first few months of training suggested that this would be a tough process. We did a VO2 max test that she couldn't even complete because she gave up running when the test got too hard. Pretty much the same thing happened when she took a functional threshold test on the exercise bike. When she would go to do parkrun at the weekends to try and evidence an improving 5k time, she would never appear capable of finding the motivation to push hard at the end and knock off those crucial extra seconds. So why wasn't she grasping this opportunity with aggression and passion? Why wasn't she listening to the Rocky IV soundtrack every time she went for a jog? I just didn't get it. However, something was starting to happen that I've only really noticed now that I look back. Jen might not have had Rocky Balboa levels of enthusiasm.
The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows.
But she was having a go at everything. She ran a Spartan race straight into the competitive age group category, despite knowing she'd be almost last. She ran 20-mile races with me in the Welsh mountains, even though it would take us 5, 6, 7 hours. And she carried on taking the tests that she didn't really like and training for events that she wasn't really looking forward to, and was fine with doing all that. It would be me that came away wishing she'd done better, tried harder, gone a bit quicker. She'd just be happy that she'd had a go. With hindsight, one of us was approaching this more sensibly than the other, and it wasn't the one of us with a Rocky IV addiction.
No thanks.
And then, towards the end of last year, a couple of things happened that made me reassess what a good result from this 12-month experiment might end up looking like. Because it started to dawn on me that there may be more to it than before and after shots in tight shorts. First off, Jen and I ran our second High Rocks event together in doubles. I'm not a team sports player. I love training and competing alone. If I do great, I want to know it was just down to me. Equally, if I do badly, I want to own 100% of that annoyance to make me do better next time. From the first time I stuck some trainers on my obese feet under my obese body and tried to jog for more than 30 seconds, I worked out alone and liked it. But at some stage during that second race together, something clicked. I'd already had the experience of seeing Jen race, for example at the Spartan run, so I knew the excitement of watching someone that you care about dripping with sweat, gasping for breath, even if they're struggling to handle the magnitude of what is being thrust upon them. But my focus had only been how well she did or didn't do. Now racing alongside her, it started to become about just how much fun we were having doing what we were doing, irrespective of how well we did. We knew we were going faster than we had last time, and we knew we would not be last. But beyond that, it didn't really matter. We were putting in an above average performance compared to any normal random couple and just enjoying it. I've stood on podiums at High Rocks events on my own, but that doubles event is still by far my most enjoyable experience. And then the other thing that happened was just after I had run for the second time the Thames Path 100k ultramarathon, an event that has destroyed me 2 times. Jenna came back from a 10k training run about a week later. She felt almost comfortable running that distance, nice and slowly, and therefore she'd be happy to run the 100k with me this year, because doing what she had just done, that afternoon's 10k, 10 times, didn't seem like it would be too bad, ignoring the insanity of thinking that an ultramarathon is just a 10k 10 times. I thought that would be cool. I hadn't planned on doing the race again, but doing it with Jen suddenly made it sound like it might be fun, almost fun. And unlike the previous times, I could go into it with no target or expectation other than just having fun and finishing it. And so we started this year in an interesting place. Jen happily getting fitter and fitter despite not taking it that seriously and still refusing to sprint the last 200 meters of every park run she entered. Meanwhile, I was fatter and slower and less fit than I'd been in a long time. My all or nothing approach last year had led me to going from the highs of podiums to the lows of Ben and Jerry's and paying the price. So in January, I decided to stop worrying about Jen's lack of effort and instead focus on myself. So I deliberately put a bunch of diverse and conflicting events into my diary: gravel bike race, a park run goal, a Spartan, a paddleboard race, a 200-mile cycle across the country. And then I decided to treat all of that just as fun things to go and do and not much more than that. And bizarrely, or maybe not, my performance across the board got better. I did a park run, didn't even look at my watch during the race and took 10 seconds off my personal best. I entered my first gravel bike race for a laugh and got inside the top 10. At my last 10k trail race, I came 5th out of over 100 people, which was cool, but not as cool as then grabbing my camera and running back to the finish line to see Jenna finish not too far behind me. In fact, she almost managed to sprint finish. Quietly, I was humming the Rocky theme. It was a beautiful thing to see. So last weekend was the end of the 12-month experiment. We went into High Rocks London in a way that, if you described it to me last year, I would have thought was a recipe for disaster. Jenna's decided that she's really now quite interested in this ultra running, so her recent training has moved into that, and her High Rocks focus has been diminished. She was happy to be there, but not overly excited. She probably put more effort into picking what shorts to wear than she did proper race preparation, although, to be fair, the shorts were tight. And while her diet is a million miles away from how she used to eat, she still found time for fries and a bit of cake before she raced. None of that should add up to her performing better than she did at her first solo High Rocks outing last year. But as she set off, I was quietly confident that she would smash that time, because I've been watching her train lately, watching her properly, instead of worrying what's on her playlist and whether or not she appears to be leaving the gym appropriately close to physical exhaustion. I stopped judging her by how I train, and I realise that she is actually running way faster than ever on the treadmill. When she goes out jogging with the dog, she has gone for hours and Nixon comes back looking tired. And because she has happily thrown herself into all sorts of different sports and activities, she's simply developed a level of all-round fitness that, even though High Rocks might not be her primary focus right now, she can't fail to be better at it than she had in the past. And she's also got very good at taking advice from very good people, her running technique, her recovery strategies. Unlike me in my early days, she hasn't assumed that she just knows best and has instead sought the advice of people that truly do. So she ended up knocking time off every single run compared to her last solo High Rocks, and every single exercise station compared to that one as well. She ended up over 11 minutes faster than her previous time. And once she'd finished, her objective was not to book another one and go even quicker. She simply said that was fun and is now interested in how she'll do in a 10k race that she's got planned next week. Just another event that she's looking forward to, but not obsessed by. And watching her these last few months encouraged me to do the same at High Rocks. I set an easy target to go slower than I knew I could, thus removing any stress or anxiety about whether I'd perform at my absolute limit, because my goal was not to. I just run and have fun. My pre-race focus went on to picking the pinkest water pack I could find and getting Nixon tattooed on my leg, rather than worrying about personal bests and targets. It was my favourite race so far, and the time on the clock of no interest. I hit my target, job done. So, after 1 year of working out, where does that leave Jenna now? Well, she is probably somebody who would still give up on a VO2 max test before the end. She is also still somebody who on a weekend away will have more cheat meals than those tight shorts suggest is possible. So exercising, working out, competition, it is now part of her life, but it's just part of it. And while that isn't enough to make her somebody that will sprint the second she sees the finish line, it has made her fitter, stronger, faster, healthier than ever, and no longer bothered by what the scales say, and still progressing. It turns out, despite what social media tells us, you don't have to spend every waking hour striving to be the best version of you. You can simply be just a bit better than you were and very happy with that. In summary, it has been a massive success for Jen as an individual and for us as a couple. We now try to balance our training and events so that we have a reasonable mix between doing stuff solo and together. And for me, what I thought this time last year were her weaknesses and my strengths, I've had to completely reassess. So has Jenna ended up faster, stronger, more successful at all this than me? No, but she might be the better, healthier all-rounder when it comes to incorporating the hobbyist athlete lifestyle into normal life. So what's next? Well, we'll see. The experiment does continue. In fact, she went for an easy recovery run today, just 3 days after High Rocks. Hasn't even taken a week off. She was going to be fair, but I said to her, "When was the last time you saw your mum?" In tight shorts. She grabbed the dog and was gone, out the door. Nixon didn't know what was happening.